Wait a minute, that's not right. The World Tag Team titles are finally put on the line. One women's wrestler continues her dominance while another ends a 31-month slide. And one very big man earns our first termination. Okay, and the news! And the news indeed, we are back for Monday Night Raw from Portland, Oregon, and we finally had the Judgment Day defending their tag team championships for the first time in 3 months since they first won it, so we have to start with that, and they took on the New Day. And the New Day showed off their decade of tag team synergy, doing really well early on, including a nice pair of super kicks at the same time against both of their opponents. And when Xavier Woods finally tagged in, he was very focused and was unstoppable when, after Kofi Kingston landed a flip onto Balor at ringside, well, Woods followed that up with a sit-out powerbomb. And even though he didn't get the fall there, well, that caused all of the Judgment Day members to come out to try to make the save. But the LWO was lying in wait, and they ran right down behind the Judgment Day, stopping them from making it to the ring. Well, at this point, things broke down, and Kofi Kingston hit a trust fall off of the top rope onto everyone on the floor, causing the ref to be distracted and go to tend to everyone at ringside, while Xavier Woods kept his eyes on the prize and he went off of the top rope, hitting an elbow drop onto JD McDonough that got a 10 count from the crowd because the ref was nowhere to be found inside the ring. So Woods then got the ref to start paying attention to the match again, got him back inside, and rolled up McDonough for another pin, but this time the ref didn't count, which was a good move because Balor had tagged himself in, so despite Woods' protestation to the ref, well, it cost him because McDonough put in a rear chokehold, getting him onto the ground for a coup de grace by Balor to have the Judgment Day retain the titles. Well, since this was their first title defense, they are still only 2-3 in traditional tag matches. But for the New Day, they've lost both of their championship opportunities this year, and they fall back to 500 at 3-1-1 in traditional tags. But more importantly, Xavier Woods was just very frustrated after the match, saying that this always happens to them. And then later backstage, he was complaining to the LWO for helping when Kofi caught up to them, and he told Woods that he told the LWO to step in to help them out, saying that they now need the help without Big E around. But Woods complained that Kofi never tells him of the plan anymore, and he stormed off. But that wasn't all for the Judgment Day, because in the main event we had Dominic Mysterio taking on Damian Priest. And Priest, of course, dominated this one early, and it looked like it might be over quickly as he set up for a Razor's Edge. But Finn Balor smartly distracted him from the floor, and Priest let go of it before he could try the move. So not very smart for Priest, and then he tempted fate minutes later by fighting Dom at ringside, but he was able to hit his head off of the table and then land a punch right beside the apron. And then he also landed a punch on Carlito for just getting a little bit too close. But this caused JD McDonough to yell something at Priest, distracting him, and Balor attacked him from behind while the ref wasn't looking, and Dom then followed that up with a suicide dive, knocking Priest over the announce table. Well, after the commercial break, Priest then landed a broken arrow that looked like he was going to put Dom away with, but Liv was right there and she put Dom's foot on the bottom rope, to which we have to ask the ref, what were you thinking? Because you seem to be in perfect position to see Liv doing that, but I guess you didn't. So the match continued, and Rhea took exception to that, and she speared Liv over the announce table, landing right onto Wade Barrett and knocking him out for a few moments as well. But Priest then took out everybody from the Judgment Day at ringside, went back into the ring where Dom landed a super kick on him, then hit a 619 and went to the top rope for a frog splash, but Priest was able to get out of the way and hit a clothesline, then a South of Heaven chokeslam to get the win. But of course, the Judgment Day immediately ambushed him, with all of the men attacking him and overwhelming him until Rhea was able to try to start to help when she grabbed Dom off of the apron, but Liv of course recovered as well, yanking Rhea off of the apron and then throwing her into the steel steps. So fortunately, main event, Jey Uso came out and he hesitated just a moment trying to figure out what to do when Braun Breaker came out of the crowd and hit a vicious spear, putting the end to Jey's help and also putting an end to the Terror Twins as Liv then followed it up with an Oblivion and Balor hit 3 coup de grace to end the show. Nonetheless, for the match, Priest has won 3 straight one-on-one matches now since dropping the title at SummerSlam, and he's won all 5 matches now against his former Judgment Day brothers. And he's also an impressive 9-2 in all one-on-one matches. But for Dom, his 1-week winning streak goes right down the drain, and he's just 2-8 in one-on-one matches. Our other men's match was Sheamus taking on Pete Dunne to open the show, and as you would expect, this was a banger with Sheamus hitting a nice Alabama slam and later with a flying knee to Dunne's head. But Dunne also showed some power as well, landing a sit-out powerbomb, grabbing Sheamus off of the top rope. But this one ended after Sheamus hit the 10 beats of the Balron, Dunne pulled out the shillelagh, and while Sheamus was able to prevent Dunne from using it, Sheamus picked up the shillelagh and the ref grabbed it from him. But in the meantime, that gave Dunne the opening to grab a cricket bat from underneath the ring and hit Sheamus with it while the ref was not looking. Dunne followed that up with a big kick and pinned Sheamus to tie their series at 1 apiece. And for Dunne, that is his first one-on-one win, going to now 1-2. But for Sheamus, he falls to a still pretty good 6-4 in one-on-one matches. On the women's side, we had Bianca Belair taking on Io Sky after Io complained to Bianca for scheduling a match against Kairi while Kairi was still hurt from being bloodied off of her own insane elbow on the announce table a couple of weeks ago. But Bianca said she did not schedule the match, so she challenged Io instead, which Io accepted. And both women turned this into a technical and athletic masterpiece at the beginning of the match, with the only criticism was that both of them seemed to be more interested in showing these moves to each other instead of actually trying to beat their opponent. But eventually, Io had a nice German suplex that she turned into a bridge, garnering a near fall, and then landed a wicked suicide dive at ringside. But Bianca was able to gain the upper hand on the floor and picked her up for what appeared to be a vertical suplex, walking up the steel steps, but instead she just threw her into the ring and went up for a 450 splash. But apparently the throw was not that devastating, as Io was able to get the knees up in time, so I guess Bianca's not quite ready to be an honorary street prophet. But then Io went for an over the moonsault, with Bianca then picking her up and turning it into a KOD attempt that Io was able to sneak out of as well. She reversed it into a small package and got the pin out of this. So for Io, this is her 3rd straight win against Bianca in one-on-one action, including her Money in the Bank cash-in all the way back at SummerSlam of 2023. And she improves to a very impressive 7-2. For Bianca, this was her first one-on-one match in almost 2 months, and maybe she's a little rusty having focused on the tag division, and she falls to 6-2. And in our other women's match, we had Natalya taking on Zoe Stark of the Pure Fusion Collective, and this was also pretty even. So let's go to the end, where Natalya avoided a Z360, and then Zoe was able to get out of a sharpshooter as well. So the women changed their strategy and they both countered each other with pinning attempts, and on the 5th such attempt, Natalya was able to keep Zoe's shoulders on the mat for the 3 count to pick up the win. And amazingly enough, even though she is the boat, this is Natalya's first singles victory in 19 months, having won a fatal 4-way all the way back in February of 2023. And for one-on-one matches, this is Natalya's first win in 31 months, as her last win was in February of 2022 when she finally beat Aaliyah in her 4th attempt, finally getting some revenge for Aaliyah defeating her in the quickest match in WWE history. Well, for Zoe, it appears that Sonya's help is not so much help at all, as she's now lost 5 straight matches of any sort and falls to 1-4 in one-on-one matches. And well, we only had 5 matches, but we were supposed to have 6, but the match between Big Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman never took place because Reed attempted to run at Strowman before the bell even rang, and Strowman sidestepped it and threw Reed into the turnbuckle, causing the turnbuckle to completely fall off of the ring post. So from there, Strowman hit a chokeslam and then clotheslined Reed onto the floor. But as Strowman was going for a freight train, Reed grabbed a spectator from the first row and threw it at Strowman. I don't remember ever seeing that in any time in recent history. But Strowman got some revenge, slamming Reed through the barricade at ringside. And as WWE officials tried to break them apart, well, it only worked momentarily, as Strowman slammed Reed through and over top of an equipment box. And the fight spilled to backstage as well, which included Strowman flipping over a golf cart, throwing 2 different security guards, Reed landing a tsunami through 2 tables that were set up, and finally ending with Strowman crashing both men through a wall where they were still down minutes later with WWE medical personnel attending to both of them. Beyond the mat for Raw, well, CM Punk started the show by deciding not to park his car in an actual parking space and then deciding just to leave the door open. So when next week starts with a report of Drew McIntyre having stole the car, well, we won't be surprised. But nonetheless, Punk said that he has more matches left in him than you might expect, but that he has 0 HIAC matches left, saying that his family kept telling him not to take this match. But the devil inside his heart tells him that he will make McIntyre bleed, and that McIntyre will have to kill him to beat him. Breakker may have ended the show by spearing Jay, but earlier Breakker told Jay that he accomplished more in 6 months than Jay had in 14 years. To which Jay said that Breakker's IC title reign would be just like his NFL career, short and sweet. But Breakker took this awfully personally and decided to land a big right on him, and when he went for a spear, Jay intercepted that spear with a spear of his own. Sami Zayn again challenged Gunther, saying that Gunther was scared of him. But instead of Gunther coming out, it was Kaiser who said that miracles do not happen twice. But Sami said that Gunther doesn't need Kaiser, but Kaiser also doesn't need Gunther. So Gunther then came out of the back, and Kaiser turned to Gunther saying he had something to tell him, but he was just faking, which led to him attacking Zayn and landing his reverse STO DDT. But Gunther laughed and left the ring, and Kaiser decided he wasn't quite done yet, so he went for a second DDT, but Sami reversed that with a German suplex and then hit a haluva kick to put Kaiser in his place. Nonetheless, those two will go one-on-one next week. And lastly, somehow American Made got a really triumphant vignette saying that they can't be killed, while the Wyatt Six just went back to having a video that ended with a QR code. Come on guys, you are farther along than that now. It was fun while it lasted, but you can do better than that. So I have no other words for that unfortunate turn of events. But with that, let's go to STFs. And in this week's STFs, well, we have to start with Big Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman, as Reed charged at Strowman before the bell, so that will cost him a fine. But that's not the big news, as Reed then threw a fan at Strowman, grabbing him out of the first row and onto Strowman to try to take him out. And well, that is simply a line that cannot be crossed in the WWE. It's one thing to attack security guards who are there for security. It's a completely different thing to throw a fan when he is just there to watch the show. So, Big Bronson Reed, congratulations, you're the first one, but you have got to go. You are terminated. Well, Braun Strowman is not blameless here either, so he'll get the more traditional 4-week suspension for laying hands on 2 different security guards, and he also has to pick up an additional 1-week suspension for damaging property when he flipped over a golf cart for really no reason at all. So, wow, a lot going on with that crazy sequence. But let's get back to our regularly programming with the Judgment Day edition, where we have to start off with no STFs during the tag team title match, because even though the Judgment Day came out, they didn't actually attack any of the participants. So the LWO came out and they stopped the Judgment Day from attacking, but nonetheless, those 2 fighting is fine. So no STFs there at all. But of course, in the main event, there was a lot that was done, starting with Finn Balor attacking Priest from behind, so he picks up a fine. Then of course, Liv put Dom's foot onto the bottom rope to stop the 3 count, so Liv will also pick up a fine. And then after the match, well, everybody from the Judgment Day got involved, attacking Priest and also attacking Rhea, so all 5 of them are going to get a fine. But also during that melee, we had Braun Breaker coming out of the crowd and spearing Jey Uso when he was just trying to help the Terror Twins, so Breaker will pick up a fine there as well. Earlier, however, Breaker also instigated against Jey Uso when he landed a big right on Jey in the middle of the ring, but fortunately Breaker paid for that with a spear, and he's also going to pay for that with another fine. And lastly, Ludwig Kaiser attacked Sami Zayn when he faked having a beef with Gunther. So when he landed that reverse STO DDT, we have to give both Kaiser and Gunther fines for working together. The Judgment Day finally defended their tag team championships after 3 months and took out the Terror Twins. Io Sky continued her dominance against Bianca Belair, which may lead to a tag team championship match for Damage Control. And Braun Strowman and Big Bronson Reed completely wrecked each other, but Reed wrecked his career as he threw a fan, causing him to be terminated. I'm Dr. O'Kay, reporting on the WWE, where everything is okay.